Connor Zilisch makes history with Dale Jr. as his crew chief at Pocono, but Kyle Busch not impressed. Plus, we could have Bowman Gray on the NASCAR schedule for 5 years? Welcome back to the Breaking Bob channel. Hope y'all are doing well on this Saturday night. It is post-Xfinity coverage. We got some Truck Series coverage and some NASCAR schedule rumors because it just never seems to go away. But if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I'm always talking NASCAR and racing on a daily basis here at Breaking Bob. Without further ado, let's jump right into our Xfinity coverage because the checkered flag just flew in. It's a junior motorsports kind of day. It just seemed like it was setting up for it all day. And we'll get to the boss man in a second, but credit where credit's due to the actual winner, Connor Zilisch, who brought home the 88 car in victory lane, leading 34 laps, final 4 laps, and it was how he got there. Shuffled out of the lead in stage 3 because it was a caution-filled race, to say the least. 10 cautions, an Xfinity record at Pocono, and it was hard to really get a rhythm, a flow in this race for sure, but Connor Zilisch somehow found a way to get back to the lead. We'll get to how he did it, but yes, he climbs out the roof hatch and makes the owner, Dale Jr., definitely look suspicious, but not only owner, crew chief Dale Earnhardt Jr., as Marty Lindley serving his 1-race suspension for a lug nut violation at Nashville a couple weeks ago for Connor Zilisch, and owner Dale Jr. steps up and says, I'll be the crew chief. Dale Earnhardt Jr. becomes the 3rd person in Xfinity Series history to win as a driver, an owner, and now a crew chief, joining Sam Ard and Ronnie Silver on that list. And, for Dale Jr., you could just tell how excited I think he was in the box. And the broadcast was excited for him. Fans seemed to be excited. The buzz around him, he's helping on the pit road. He's got the skull gloves. It's just, you could tell he was all in on it today, and a lot of people were excited for it. Kyle Busch, one of those people, though, asked the media center about it as a former owner himself in the Truck Series. Maybe you could do it one day, and Kyle not as excited for Dale Jr. Talking to FrontStretch.com, I'll link the full video below, but he said, quote, "It's all publicity. He's just going to be a warm body sitting on top of the box." And I did say something similar to that partially in my coverage on, I believe it was Wednesday when this news was announced. It's no secret that nowadays, if a crew chief is suspended, he's in the Charlotte headquarters, wherever their race command setup is, and really calling the shots from there virtually. And the crew chief who's on the box may be just a warm body. But for Kyle Busch, it's a wet blanket for sure. Fans kind of jumped on him, but Kyle was quick to respond on Twitter, and I think this was definitely Kyle Busch tweeting the way he, just worded this. Quote, "This has nothing to do with any animosity towards Dale Jr. I'm referencing how silly the suspensions are for crew chiefs these days with all the technology you have to stay in contact with their teams. I'd say the same thing if JG went on an HMS box as CC. Joe Gibbs on a Hendrick Motorsports box as crew chief. That makes no, he's talking about Jeff Gordon. And I do think Kyle Busch has a point, but it's just raining on the parade when today's an exciting day for the sport. You get Dale Jr., a part of a history that, I think it's 9 total owners in all NASCAR series to do this. It's something that doesn't happen very often there. And whether it's a figurehead or not, he still is the ears for Connor Zilisch on the box today at a track at Pocono where strategy definitely comes into a factor for sure. Especially the way it happened for Connor Zilisch, how it cycled out. He had to get around Jesse Love late in the last 4 laps. And Jesse Love wasn't the fastest car today, but he was a contender when he had clean air. He was a great defensive car. And for Zilisch to be able to get around him, it speaks volumes to the talent that young driver has at Pocono. His very first time at the track at the Xfinity level. What can you say about Connor Zilisch? I still think he needs another year at the Xfinity level to develop his racecraft on these ovals, but a race today, like today, just goes to show that maybe he's ready for Cup after all next year. He's a talent that will be in the sport for decades to come. As Dale Jr. says, he's going to be around for a long time to come. I concur with his boss. And it looked like there was 2 other cars that could have been in contention late, not Jesse Love. I would have liked to seen it come down to Connor Zilisch versus Chase Elliott versus Justin Allgaier, a trio of Chevys that looked like they were just really fast there all day long. But with 12 to go on a restart with, yes, you guessed it, another caution, caused another restart incident, and it was Chase Elliott on the outside, Justin Allgaier on the inside, and Allgaier just got so loose coming out of turn 1, but saved it to the point where they didn't have a caution come out, but he and Chase Elliott both shipped it up into turn 1, basically taking themselves out of track position for the win. Frustrating to see as fans because you want to see the best cars battle at the end there, and for Justin Allgaier and Chase Elliott, they had a car to compete there with Connor Zilisch for sure. For Chase Elliott, he's racing for wins out there as the lone Cup Series guy today. And As frustrating as it may be for Chase fans, at least he's getting that experience out in the front. He's getting that just confidence, I guess you could say. You could tell even in the pre-race interview with Ryan Blaney how excited he was. Oh, it's an honor and a privilege to talk to you, Ryan Blaney, as Blaney called Chase William Clyde. It was just some nice banter, some rare personality you get to see from Chase. And maybe opportunities like this just get Chase Elliott a little bit more out of his shell and maybe a little bit more comfortable with the fact that, especially in the next gen era, he has not been able to get in a rhythm, it seems like, at Hendrick Motorsports compared to William Byron and Kyle Larson. Especially today was at least a step in the right direction. Even if he didn't end up in victory lane, he got that experience out in front that he needs desperately just to get that confidence back, I think, for that 9 team tomorrow at Pocono. One other note before I put a bow on the Xfinity race today, it seemed like the rookies coming at a track like Pocono, there's a learning curve, the speeds, the 3 turns, it's a little bit different. It seems like the rookies really handled it strong today. You had Connor Zilic, of course, winning, but you had Taylor Gray, you had Nick Sanchez, some of these rookies that, again, the learning curve is steep in the Xfinity Series this year, but they were running top 5 a lot today. And, Sanchez, of course, got caught late. Taylor Gray wasn't there toward the end, but they're showing that speed. They're going to be consistent top 5 cars. Christian Eckes, another guy I failed to mention a minute ago, but he was there toward the end at that final couple restarts there. One of those guys that if potentially something had happened there with Connor Zilic late, he would have been a guy that could have potentially pounced on it with Jesse Love. It's fun to see these rookies. It feels like there's just an influx of youth and talent coming through the Xfinity level right now. And guys like Taylor Gray, Nick Sanchez, maybe not talked about as much as Connor Zilic, but the speed is there and their wins are coming. And speaking of wins that were due, let's pivot to the afternoon matinee Friday race for the Truck Series at Pocono. Of course, no lights at the Tricky Triangle, so a tight schedule with all 3 series, and the trucks are running on Friday afternoon. And it was Lane Riggs, somehow it felt like out of nowhere, taking the win. Stage 3, late, halfway through it, thought, okay, Lane Riggs is probably going to get a top 5, maybe a top 10, but to win? No, I don't know about that. But on a late restart, Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar, the 2 class of the field trucks by far, issues of their own, very different though. Heim had a tire go down under the caution laps right before the green flag flew on the restart, basically putting himself out in track position and ruining his chance at the win. And Carson Hocevar, who was right behind Heim, slid up to take that top spot on the front row on the outside and got a black flag because he went a little too early, according to NASCAR and their officiating. And Hocevar even calling out the officiating series director by name on his radios. Good job, way to go. In a week where Carson Hocevar has been in the headlines, it just seemed like finally getting on track might have cleared his head, and then he still shows his youth there and frustration. But the top 2 cars in the Truck Series getting taken out through just interesting ways, not maybe the conventional way you would expect there. A tire going down under caution and then a black flag on a restart. Just interesting to see. But Lane Riggs getting his first win on the Truck Series season this year, getting himself in the playoffs for Front Row Motorsports. Both trucks now, of course, as they've expanded to 2 trucks with Chandler Smith on the other end and FRM. So big for them to get both now locked in, and they can move ahead to the playoffs now. Look ahead for FRM and the Truck Series side. And before we wrap up today's video, a little bit of talk about the NASCAR schedule for the future, because it seemed like this news might have gone through the cracks a little bit on Friday night. Now, Fox 8's Chris Weaver reporting that NASCAR and Bowman Gray have potentially their future with a long-term deal coming up. Now, it's reported that they're trying to update the scoreboard for Bowman Gray Stadium, and that's because there's been some complaints with the NASCAR Clash this year. It wasn't up to date, and it sounds like they could be bringing the Clash back for 2026, the NASCAR Cup Series, bringing the Clash back to Bowman Gray Stadium for 2026. They need to upgrade the scoreboard, but not only that, this is part of potentially a 5-year deal to bring one of the main 3 NASCAR series events to Bowman Gray Stadiums once each of the 5 seasons. Now, again, that could be the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, Cup for 2026. It sounds like at the Clash, it seems like that's inevitable at this point at Bowman Gray Stadium, the Madhouse. But we could see Xfinity and trucks there down the line. It's going to be interesting to see how this works out. But yeah, NASCAR and the Clash back at Bowman Gray for 2026, it sounds like. And then after that, not sure who, but somebody will be racing there from the NASCAR series. You could see that maybe being a one-off, like a Lime Rock, like a Rockingham potentially, but somebody's going to be racing there for sure at the Madhouse. It's interesting to note, but the Clash 2026 at Bowman Gray, I think maybe one more year is going to be fine there, and then they need to move on to somewhere else. It seems like that it needs to be a couple of years and then you move on kind of place if they're going to make this a traveling show like they seem to be planning on. But let me know your thoughts down below about Bowman Gray's place in the NASCAR series. Do you want to see them at the Clash next year? Do you want to see trucks, Xfinity? Where do you want Bowman Gray? Do you even want them in the NASCAR level, or do you think it's better off being the madhouse it is on the late model side? And of course, Connor Zilic, Dale Jr., Kyle Busch, all the drama on the Xfinity side today, and Lane Riggs taking the checkered flag last night. Make sure to like this video if you liked what you saw here at Breaking Bob. Subscribe to the channel if you like more NASCAR content here at it helps me out a ton. I got to tell you, it helps me out a ton for sure. But I'll see you next time. Tomorrow night, of course, the Cup Series post-Tricky Triangle edition. We'll see what happens there. It'll be interesting to see for sure, but a lot of coverage for sure tomorrow night. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.